Quantum manifestation works so effortlessly that most people never truly accept it. It contradicts everything we've been taught. You see, we've been raised in a world that worships effort. We're told from an early age that results come only to those who grind, who hustle, who sacrifice. Success is earned. Love must be pursued. Healing must be fought for. And so we enter life prepared to struggle. But quantum physics presents us with a radically different reality. One that doesn't require struggle at all, but instead demands stillness, clarity, and coherence. The paradox is this: the easier something truly is, the more the mind resists it. Why? Because the ego has been trained to validate its worth through difficulty. If it was too easy, it must not be real. And so when we encounter quantum manifestation, which works through effortless alignment rather than forceful action, we subconsciously reject it. We complicate it. We try to fix it. We make it a technique, a practice, a to-do list. We bury it under rituals and rules, forgetting that the universe isn't waiting for your checklist. It's responding to your vibration. You've likely been told, if you want it badly enough, work harder, but quantum manifestation doesn't work through desire, it works through knowing. And the moment you're deeply convinced that something must require effort is the moment you push it further away. The universe is not testing your strength, it's matching your frequency. The more complex your internal world, the more doubts, contradictions, and stories you carry, the more fragmented the signal you emit. And a fragmented signal cannot collapse a clear reality. Let's bring this into science for a moment. In quantum mechanics, there's a principle known as coherence. It refers to particles being in a unified harmonious state, moving in sync, amplifying each other's influence. This is what makes quantum phenomena so powerful. When particles align, even the smallest force can produce massive effects. Your consciousness functions the same way. When your thoughts, emotions, and actions are in coherence, you become a quantum signal strong enough to influence the field without pushing, forcing, or manipulating anything. But coherence doesn't happen through effort. It happens through clarity. And clarity only arises when you release the clutter, the doubts, the mental noise, the unconscious resistance to ease. That resistance, by the way, is not your fault. It's been programmed into you for years. You've been told that worth comes from earning, that safety comes from control, that outcomes come from effort. And yet, time and time again, the most miraculous moments in your life likely happened when you weren't trying at all. You weren't trying when you met someone that changed your life. You weren't trying when you stumbled into the perfect job, the opportunity, the idea. In those moments, you were open. You were receptive. You were resonating with something higher, and because of that, the field responded. That's not coincidence. That's quantum alignment, and it's trying to happen for you right now. But first, you must drop the belief that struggle is the only way. Let's be clear. This isn't about avoiding action. This is about aligning before acting. It's about doing less with your hands and more with your energy. Manifestation isn't about movement. It's about magnetism. You don't attract what you work hard for. You attract what you embody. And embodiment only happens when you allow yourself to be what you seek without striving, without chasing. So here's the question I want to leave you with right now. What if it's supposed to be easy? What if the simplicity of quantum manifestation isn't a loophole, but the very nature of how the universe works? What if your refusal to believe in ease is the only thing holding your breakthrough back? Stay with me, because in this video, we're going to go even deeper into how this invisible resistance to simplicity is formed and how you can finally dissolve it, not by working harder, but by surrendering to the power of your aligned state. This is not just a mindset shift, it's a vibrational shift, and it begins now. Let's make something very clear. Simplicity in the quantum field is not the same as passivity. It's not laziness. It's not spiritual bypass. It's not waiting around for magic to fix your life. Simplicity is clarity. It's energetic precision. And most importantly, it's the natural byproduct of deep alignment with the frequency of what you desire. In the language of quantum mechanics, simplicity is coherence, and coherence is the signature of all-powerful manifestation. In classical physics, we're taught that force produces results. Push harder, move faster, exert more pressure. That's how we were trained to survive. But in the quantum world, energy follows a very different law. It flows through the path of least resistance. Think about that. Energy does not choose the hardest route. It doesn't reward struggle. It finds the opening and moves with elegance, speed, and fluidity. This means that in the quantum field, trying harder often leads to resistance, but relaxing into alignment opens the way. Now ask yourself, how often do you complicate your desires? You visualize what you want, and within seconds the mind begins to swarm with doubts. How will this happen? What if I'm not ready? What if it takes too long? That's not clarity, that's static, that's noise in the signal. And what does the quantum field respond to? Frequency. And frequency cannot be chaotic, it must be coherent. Simplicity is not the absence of thought, it's the mastery of thought. It's the moment you stop asking if your desire is possible and begin living from the place where it already is. Coherence, as explained in quantum physics, is when all parts of a system are in harmony. The same frequency, the same rhythm, the same intention, no contradictions, no conflict. When your thoughts, emotions, and expectations are vibrating in unity, your entire being becomes a magnetic beacon, and the universe has no choice but to reflect that signal back to you. But most people are incoherent. They say one thing, feel another, and expect something else entirely. That's not alignment. That's fragmentation. This is why simplicity is so powerful. It eliminates contradiction. When you simplify your manifestation process, you remove the clutter. You stop needing to understand every step. You stop needing to prove your worth. You stop analyzing the how and focus completely on the what and the who. What do I choose and who do I become to match that reality? That's it. Everything else is noise. And noise keeps you vibrating in confusion, which keeps your desires at a distance. Let's use an example. Imagine you're tuning an old radio. You turn the dial slowly and there's static fuzz. A voice flickers in and out. Then suddenly clarity. The music comes through loud and pure. That's what happens when your inner state hits coherence. That's what simplicity feels like. The station was always there. You just had to tune to it. In quantum manifestation, the station is your desired reality and the dial is your vibration. But simplicity requires trust. It requires you to drop the addiction to control. You don't need to control every detail. You need to align your signal, because the truth is most of your desires are already trying to reach you. They're already waiting, vibrating, echoing in the field. But your complexity, your need to force, to overthink, to micromanage, is creating resistance. It's like building a wall between you and what is already yours. Simplicity is not weakness, it's mastery. So how do you embody this kind of simplicity? You begin with stillness. You give yourself permission to stop chasing. You allow your nervous system to feel safe without constant motion. Then you choose the version of you that already has the desire not as fantasy, but as your identity. You speak as them, you walk as them, you make decisions from their frequency. You become that version now fully and without hesitation. And the universe, bound by the laws of quantum resonance, must respond. Remember, complexity is a symptom of doubt. Simplicity is a sign of trust. The more you believe it has to be hard, the more you'll create a hard path. But when you realize that energy flows where alignment goes, you stop doing more and start being more. You align, you receive, and you finally see that the universe was never holding anything back. It was just waiting for your signal to become clear. Let's continue this journey, because next I'll show you how your own mind, conditioned by survival and fear, is creating friction that blocks your natural ability to manifest, and how a small internal shift can unlock your greatest expansion. This is more than a mindset. This is quantum simplicity in action. In quantum mechanics, there's a word that redefines how we understand manifestation: coherence. Coherence is when multiple elements, particles, waves, or systems come into perfect alignment, functioning not as isolated fragments, but as one single harmonious entity. When coherence is achieved, energy becomes focused, powerful, and directed. It doesn't scatter. It doesn't get lost in noise. It creates outcomes that are consistent, reliable, and potent. And this, at its core, is what makes manifestation effortless. Not because you're sitting back and doing nothing, but because your energy is finally unified. Let's zoom in. For a moment, imagine particles in a chaotic system, each vibrating in its own direction, colliding with one another, dispersing energy. That's what an incoherent system looks like. Noisy, inefficient, unfocused. Now imagine those same particles suddenly synchronizing, moving in harmony, aligning with a shared rhythm. What happens? The energy intensifies. The system begins to self-organize. The outcome becomes not only predictable but powerful. This is what happens inside your conscio.